Hello and welcome to Arsenal Analysed. I'm JC. I hope you're doing well. Today I bring you a match preview for Arsenal's next Premier League game away from home to Brentford. No easy opposition, but as per normal, I'll be bringing you everything that you need to know before kickoff. Go ahead and smash that like button if you are looking forward to today's video. Subscribe if you're new around here and get that notification bell button on, because after the game on Sunday, I will be bringing you the usual tactical analysis. But let's waste no more time at all and dive straight into things. Kicking off with recent form, Arsenal have come off the back of a win in Europe, a return to Europe, away from home against Zurich, a much rotated side, but a must-win game, in my opinion, off the back of a defeat at the hands of Manchester United. Arsenal very much needed to bounce back, start to build that confidence again before playing Brentford. It should have been Everton, but due to a number of postponements, Arsenal now face Brentford. Prior to this, Arsenal were unbeaten in the Premier League, and whilst we do still sit top of the Premier League, we need to make sure we continue to win games. Brentford, on the other hand, have come off the back of a very convincing win at home against Leeds United. They seem to be scoring goals for absolute fun at the moment. They've scored 5 against Leeds, 4 against Manchester United. So their attacking threat is certainly something that we will need to keep an eye on. A draw against Palace is a good result. They're a tough side this season. And one that I wasn't really expecting is a draw against Everton, who have been absolutely awful. But the big question here is, after a lack of football, how much will recent form really have a part to play in this particular fixture? Arsenal's history against Brentford isn't a big one, only a total of 15 games. But funnily enough, Brentford do trump Arsenal in this department with 6 victories compared to Arsenal's 5, 4 ending in a draw. And it was shared last season, with Arsenal beating Brentford in the most recent game between these two clubs, 2-1 at the Emirates. However, we all remember that opening fixture to last Premier League campaign where Arsenal had a number of players unavailable. Brentford really up for it because they returned to the top flight, shall we say, for the first time in 70 plus years. And you can see this across the last 5 games, although we did play them in the League Cup back in 2018. Prior to this, you have to take yourself all the way back to 1947, when the Premier League didn't even exist and it was known as the old Division 1. And you have a look at those 2 fixtures there, one ending in a win away from home for Arsenal and the other ending in a draw. But a bit of a mixed bag in recent times. Will there be a psychological factor? Will Arsenal still want to make a convincing statement against Brentford after 2 not so convincing performances against them last season? Some fun facts to bring you, a new addition to the match preview video. Some stats here. Arsenal are 4th, or ranked 4th for goals scored this season, 2.3 per game. We haven't kept a clean sheet in our last 4. We currently sit top of the league for our away form, but 3rd in the league for our home form. How does this compare to some interesting facts for Brentford? They are 2nd for goals scored per game, 2.5. Going back to what I mentioned earlier, they are going to be a threat going forward. And Arsenal defensively recently haven't been the best, so an area that Arsenal are really going to need to be focused in. However, what does make good reading is they haven't kept a clean sheet in their last 3 games. And we all know how much of a threat Arsenal themselves are a threat going forward. 2nd out of the 20 teams in the Premier League for big chances created, 17. And they are unbeaten in their last 4. Now, another new addition to the preview video is when Arsenal and Brentford not only score goals throughout 90 minutes, but also concede them. And one thing that did make very good reading for Brentford fans, at least, is they haven't managed to, concede a goal in the first 30 minutes of any Premier League games this season so far. And Arsenal are said to be a team that really like to start games very, very fast. And if we have a look at that first 30 minutes, Arsenal so far have scored a total of 5 goals. However, late on in the game, in that last 15 minutes, Arsenal do typically tend to concede. However, Brentford don't typically tend to score too much either. So some really interesting numbers there. And just for comparison purposes, at the very bottom, we've got where Arsenal are in the league, currently top. I might have mentioned it once or twice. And Brentford down in 8th, certainly having had a very, very good start to their season. With regards to injury and team news, Arsenal with a number of players unavailable. The latest player is Cedric. Won't be available for this game from what I understand. Likewise with Smith Rowe. He won't be back until sort of later this month. Oddly, according to the Premier League list, Mohamed Elneny is only down as having a knock and away for a few days. We obviously know otherwise it's a significant injury that will keep him out long term. Thomas Partey, though, some very good news with regards to him. He has been training with the first team for the last week or so. And it is a bit of a double-edged sword with him because our next game is a huge fixture in the North London derby against Spurs. So do you get those all-important minutes in his legs because he hasn't been playing recently? Or by starting him, do you risk further injury and not being without him again in that North London derby? Reece Nelson is another player that will still be out for a few weeks. Brentford, on the other hand, definitely 2 players that will not feature according to the Premier League injury list is Norgard, who won't be back until early October, likewise with Pinnock. Sergi Canos, on the other hand, has picked up a hamstring injury, but nothing too significant from what I've researched, and will only be away for a few days. Potentially could be available for the fixture this coming weekend. With regards to my danger man, I'm going with Gabriel Jesus. He has picked himself up 3 goals and 3 assists this season in 6 starts. So that is a goal contribution every single game. He does need to get back in the goals, in my opinion. But some other really, really interesting stats that I can see on screen here is that he contributes to 2.2 key passes per 90 minutes. His passing accuracy is very, very good. And he's very much involved in duels, not only in the opposition half, but also when defending. He wins around 9.5 per 90 minutes. An absolute nuisance, something that he done very well against Manchester United. Unfortunately, he wasn't rewarded with a goal or a victory, unfortunately. But it was in that game where he was marked by 2 top-tier centre-backs in Varane and Martinez. And we saw how much of a nuisance that he can be. By all means, pause the video at this point. There's a lot of information on screen. Digest it at your own pace. The majority of those stats there are per 90 minutes, except obviously games started, goals and assists, for example. But the rest of those there are per 90 minutes. Some very, very good stats to digest. Looking at my predicted lineup for this game, I do think that Arteta will go back to that original starting 11 that we saw in the first 3 or 4 games. It done us so very, very well. In terms of the 10 players you can see on screen, barring Thomas Partey, I don't think there are any injury concerns. I don't see there being any reason why these players wouldn't start. Some of them didn't play in the Europa League game, and there wasn't a game at the weekend either. So most of these players should be fit and raring to go. The only question mark for me is Thomas Partey. Is he fit enough? Do we risk him? Let me know down in the comments below. Is the starting 11 the one that you would go with, or would you pick a slightly different team? Let me know down below, which brings us on to the final part of today's video, which is my score prediction. Yes, Brentford do score a lot of goals, but they also concede, as we already touched upon. I think it might be a close game. I'm going to go for another Arsenal victory. I think we're going to bounce back in the Premier League off the back of a European win. I'm going to go Arsenal 2-1, goals from Gabriel Jesus and Saka, who seems to have a slight upturn in form and confidence. Hopefully some goals recently will now be the kickstart to the season that he needed. But let me know your score predictions down below. If you have enjoyed today's video, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new around here, notification bell on so you don't miss tactical analysis over the weekend. But for now, I'm JC, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe and take care.